بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى أهله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، تفسير السعدي by Sheikh عبد الرحمن bin Nasir السعدي. Today we read Soorat Balad. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا أقسم بهذا البلد. Verily, I swear by this city. وأنت حل بهذا البلد, and you are resident of this city. ووالد وما ولد, and by the parent and offspring. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في كبد. We have indeed created man in toil and hardship. أيحسب أن لا يقدر عليه أحد. Does he think that no one can ever have power over him? نعم. يقول أهلكت من لبدا. He says, I have squandered enormous wealth. أيحسب أن لم يروا أحد. نعم. Does he think that no one saw him? ألم نجله عينين. Have we not given him two eyes? ولسانا وشفتين, and a tongue and a pair of lips. وهديناه النجدين, and show him the two ways, good and evil. نعم. فلاقتحم العقبة. But he has not attempted the steep path. وما أدراك ما العقبة. And how could you know what the steep path is? فك الرقبة. It is freeing a slave. Or إطعام في يوم ذي مسغبة. Or giving food on a day of privation. يتيما ذا مقربة, to an orphan near of kin. Or miskinan ذا متربة, or one who is poor and destitute. ثم كان من الذين آمنوا وتواصوا بالصبر وتواصوا بالمرحمة. نعم. While being far and foremost among those who believe and exhort one another to be steadfast and to show compassion. أولئك أصحاب الميمنة. Such will be those on the right. والذين كفروا بآياتنا هم أصحاب المشأمة. And those who reject our signs will be those on the left. عليهم نار مؤصدة. With fire closing is upon them. Enough. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by this city, that is, by this secure city, namely Makkah al-Mukarramah, which is the best of all cities, especially at the time when Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was living there, and by parent and offspring, namely Adam and his progeny. What is attested to is mentioned in the following verse. We have indeed created man in toil and hardship. It may be that what is meant is what man suffers and goes through of hardships in this world, in al-barzakh, and on the day of resurrection. So man should strive hard to do that which will bring him relief from these hardships and lead to eternal bliss and joy. For if he does not do that, he will continue to suffer severe punishment for all eternity. We created man in the best form and shape so that he is able to take action and deal with tough and difficult situations. Yet despite that, he does not give thanks to Allah for this great blessing. Rather, he becomes arrogant because of his well-being, and he opposes his creator. Therefore, in his ignorance and wrongdoing, he thinks that this situation will last forever, and that his ability to dispose of his own affairs will never cease. Hence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, does he think that no one can ever power over him? Does he think that no one can ever have power over him? And therefore he shows arrogance and boast of what he has spent of wealth on his own desires. So he says, I have squandered enormous wealth, that is huge amounts of wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes spending on desires and sins as squandering, because the spender does not benefit from what he spends, and his spending only leads to regret, loss, exhaustion, and diminishing of wealth. Unlike the one who spends on good causes, seeking the pleasure of Allah, the latter is, as it were, making deals with Allah, and he gains many times more than he spends. Allah says, warning the one who boasts of what he spends on his desires. Does he think that no one saw him? That is, does he think when he does that, that Allah does not see him and will not bring him to account for everything small or great? Rather, Allah does indeed see him and records his deeds against him. He has appointed noble scribes to write down whatever he does of good or evil. Then Allah reminds him of his blessings, saying, have we not given him 2 eyes and a tongue and a pair of lips, so as to give him a beautiful appearance, and so that he may see and speak? And we have bestowed upon him other necessary faculties. This refers to worldly blessings. Then Allah says concerning the blessing of religion, and shown him the 2 ways, good and evil, that is, the paths of good and evil. We have shown him guidance as distinct from misguidance. These immense blessings require a person to fulfill his duties towards Allah, to give thanks to Allah for his blessings, and not to use them in disobedience to him. But this person does not do that. But he has not attempted the steep path, that is, he has not attempted it or crossed over it, because he's following his whims and desires. So this steep path is very difficult for him. Then Allah explains what is meant by that step path, as he says, it is freeing a slave, that is, freeing a person from a slavery by manumitting him or helping him to buy his freedom. It is even more appropriate to ransom Muslim prisoners who are held by the disbelievers, or giving food on a day of privation, that is, on the day of severe hunger, by giving food at the time when people need it most, and to an orphan near of kin, that is, one who is both a poor orphan and a close relative, or one who is poor and destitute, while being first and foremost among those who believe, that is, who believe in their hearts in that in which it is obligatory to believe, and they do righteous deeds which their physical faculties in terms of both words and deeds, actions are both voluntary and recommended. And exhort one another to be steadfast in obeying Allah and refraining from disobedience, and in accepting the painful decree of Allah, by urging one another to submit so to that and comply with it with the complaisance and contentment, and to show compassion to people by giving to the needy, teaching the ignorant, taking of all their needs of various kinds, helping them in their endeavors to do that which is in their best interest in both religious and worldly terms, and loving for them what they love for themselves, and hating for them what they hate for themselves. Those who meet this description, whom Allah has enabled to climb that steep path, will be those on the right, because they did not what they did. They did what Allah enjoins of duties towards him and towards his slaves, and they refrained from that which they were forbidden to do. This is a sign of being among the blessed. And those who reject our signs by turning their backs on these matters, so they do not believe in Allah, and do not do righteous deeds or show compassion towards the slaves of Allah, will be those on the left, with fire closing in upon them, and they will be confined behind those barred with huge beams, so that they cannot be opened, and they will find themselves in distress and hardship. This is the end of the commentary on Soorat Balad. All praise and thanks are for Allah, and may the praise and peace of Allah be upon Prophet ﷺ, his family, and his companions abundantly until the day of judgment.